Good evening to you all, and welcome to tonight's Monday night panel. Chris is taking a well-deserved break on holiday, so I've agreed to step in tonight. We've got a panel of guests to chew over the rather hot Saturday last Saturday. Extraordinary day, wasn't it? But before we do, we've got a special guest for you. So without further ado, let's bring Vic on, and we can have a discussion about all matters Sutton United. Good evening, Vic. How are you?
Andy, very good evening to you. Welcome to very wet Devon. It's chucking it down, quite frankly. So summer's officially over and it's on its way to wherever you might be at this present time. So just talk about SAS travel, of course. A week on Saturday, we go to Morecambe. The buses leave at the very early time of 7:45 a.m. So we're all going to get up a little bit earlier that day. 7:45 a.m. Tomorrow night from 7 until 9, there are phone bookings only for Morecambe. There are spaces available. So if you've got a match ticket and you want to go to Morecambe on SAS Travel, tomorrow night on the phone, and they leave a week on Saturday at 7:45. And then on Thursday evening from 7, in person in their little office just behind the town end. So that's SAS Travel for you.
Excellent. So would you like to introduce our guest, Vic?
Yes, I would very much like to introduce our guest. You might have noticed on Saturday that one Sutton defender is still making his way around the magic roundabout after this mazy run by the player that we're introducing right now, Russian Hepburn Murphy. A very good evening to you.
Hi, good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Right, Andy, we'll crack on, and then
I'll leave you to it. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. First and foremost, thank you ever so much for joining us. It's always a great pleasure to have one of the players on. Take us through your goal, because I've got a comparison for you. You're far too young to remember this. Ricky Villa, Spurs against Manchester City in an FA Cup final replay way back in 1981. If you get a chance to have a look at it on YouTube, have a look at it, and then you will see just how similar your goal is. Take us through that goal, which was an extraordinary effort.
Thank you very much, first and foremost. And I don't know, you just kind of like come off the cuff. Fraser played it into me. I had a look over my shoulder. I realized the defender didn't come with me, so I had space to turn. So I just thought I'd turn inside, and then I think another defender was closing me down, and I took a fake shot, and he just sold himself and dropped to the ground. Then I was like 1v1 with the goalkeeper, but like in the corner of my eye, I seen another defender coming across. So I thought if I was to shoot now, he probably might get a block on it. So I thought I'd just take him on, which I fortunately did. Took him out of the way, and it was just me and the goalkeeper. Just slotted it near post.
Yeah, you've been very simplistic about your goal. I mean, there was a tremendous amount of skill involved in it, and I've noticed you like the half turn, don't you? That's one of your things, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I don't like playing my back to goal. If I can turn and get face up with a centre back or any player on the pitch, really, if I can get turned and get faced up, I just back myself to beat them 1v1. So,
where'd you get the pace from? Because I don't know what your 100-meter time is. What is it? And you know what your 100 meters time is?
I think the last time I did it, I was in school. I was probably in like year 7 or year 8. I can't remember what my time was, and I don't know where I get my pace from either. So yeah, just blessed, I guess.
Well, it's an extraordinary thing. You came on and then immediately got into the game because Dan Kemp was the beneficiary of one of your little touches, wasn't it? So to get involved in a game that quickly, how good is that?
It's amazing, to be honest. Like when you're coming on from a substitute point of view, the quicker you can get into the game, the better, because you're always playing catch up. I've noticed like most of the times I come on from the bench, I find myself very tired. And it's not because you're unfit, it's just that you have to get up to the pace of the game as quick as possible because you're always behind. So the quicker you can get into the game, the better. And fortunately, my first few touches, I got myself into the game.
I think it's fair to say defenders like to hold on to you, don't they? I mean, you've had a fair few of those, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I'm blessed with pace. So especially in this league, pace kills, and defenders pretty much don't know how to deal with it. So their only go-to is to grab around you and bring you down.
Yeah. Let's talk about the heat on Saturday, because I was doing some stuff on the pitch beforehand and it was horrendous. That's all I can say.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought of having to play 90 minutes, 25 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever in that heat. How do you approach it? Are you worried by it, or What's the mindset going into the game?
For me, like I said, I'm used to it because English heat's a bit different from other heats, but I'm used to the heat because I spent 2 years out playing in Cyprus, so I'm a bit used to the heat. But the other lads, they were complaining about the heat before the game and after the game. I was sitting on the bench. I thought it's not really that hot, and then when I got on the pitch, I was like, all right, I understand why everyone's complaining. It was scorching, to be fair.
It wasn't just the heat, was it? It was the humidity. I think it's
English heat. You don't really get like a nice breeze. It's very, I don't know how to describe it. I feel like everybody will know what I'm talking about when I say the English heat is different compared to when you're going on holiday and you're in the sun.
So therefore, are you drinking a lot of fluids? How do the physios and people like that prepare you for a game?
Naturally, before every game, well, pretty much every day, you have to get your fluids on board. You have to stay hydrated, because if you're not hydrated, that's when injuries will come upon you. So you have to stay hydrated regardless. But I think in that game on Saturday, we had like ice towels, nice cold wet towels to put on you before and halftime and after the game. Obviously, the drinks breaks help in the first half and the second half. So it's just, you just prepare for it as you would prepare for any other game, but obviously take that precaution and drink a bit more.
If you could have provided ice towels to us in the stands, that would have been much appreciated, quite frankly. It's one of those days when cramp is a problem, isn't it? Because your body loses a lot of salt as well, doesn't it?
And I'm one for getting cramp. I used to get cramp. Well, I still do get cramp literally all the time in my calves. But lucky I didn't have to play 90 minutes. I only got 30 minutes, so I didn't have to worry about cramp.
Yeah, but what are 30 minutes? I mean, what about the opening few minutes then? Swindon race into a 3-0 lead. Sutton looked gone. But to their great credit, after the drinks break, that seemed to halt the momentum, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it killed our momentum. And I won't want to entirely blame it on the drinks break. I think we got a bit too complacent. We was 3-0 up and we was cruising. Like, everybody watching the game could see we was cruising. Sutton didn't have a clue what to do with us. And then I think we got a bit complacent. And then they gained a bit of momentum. They scored the first. Then momentum kicks in from there. And then they go and score the second. It's like they've got a full head of momentum, and we're just like, oh my god, we don't want this game to go from good to bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think Swindon's problem is not scoring goals, is it? I've got a little stat here which somebody sent through on this evening. 5 teams since the start of the 04-05 season have scored 20 plus goals in their opening 6 games. One is Swindon. I'll give you the other 4: Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea, and Arsenal.
Jesus.
So they're in pretty good company. I mean, scoring goals is not a problem, is it? It's, I guess, at the other end too.
Yeah. Again, I don't want to blame it entirely on just the back four. It's a collective thing. Obviously, strikers are the first point of defense. So maybe it wasn't we was pressing well. Maybe the midfield wasn't tight enough, or maybe the defenders just didn't defend well enough, or maybe a bit of luck from the Sutton goals, because if we're being honest, I don't really think they opened us out with any of their goals. I don't think they played nice, like very good football, and you thought, all right, cool, fair enough, hats off. That's a very good goal. I think maybe one of their goals was okay. I think they went down the left, cut back, and then he passed it into the corner. But the other 2 were very scrappy.
When you go back to 4-3, what were your thoughts?
At first, when I seen it was 3-0, I thought, okay, I'm gonna come on. It's gonna be an easy game. I won't have much to do. But then it was 4-3, and I was like, God, I'm gonna have to try and give us a extra lead here. I want to come on.
Well, you certainly did that. I mean, it's not been an easy season for you so far, has it? With the injury that you picked up, take us through that, because the Peterborough performance was great in the League Cup, first game of the season after the Colchester postponement.
Mm-hmm.
But you picked up this injury. Take us through what happened.
It was a very inconvenient injury. It happened in the first half of the Peterborough game, and like I said, I played the rest of until I came off. I played the rest of the game. I even scored after that. So like during the game, I felt fine, and then I got home, went to sleep, woke up in the morning, and my knee was just swollen. So it wasn't necessarily an injury. It's just that I couldn't play with the swelling. I had to wait for the swelling to go down. So it was very inconvenient, kind of like halted my start to the season, which was, I guess, everything for a reason. But yeah, it was just one of them things.
And the conspiracy theories then suddenly started when you weren't in the team on the Saturday. You're clearly stood at Swindon, which is fantastic. We're very grateful for you to be here. Right, here we go. Got lots of comments coming in. Daz says, take a bow, young man. Superb goal on Saturday. Michael says it was absolutely great. Hi, Rush. Great player, says Sean. Remember I shouted to you at Barrow, I want 15 goals from you. It was warming up. What is your aim this season? Good question. What are you after?
I know he shouted that to me last season. Last season, I didn't really have any aims because I think I was out for 2 years. I didn't really put pressure on myself to reach any goals last season because it was my first season back in football. So I just thought enjoy the season back playing football because as I just said, I was out for a very long time. And but this season for sure I have a lot of goals. It's my first pre-season I've done, so I feel much fitter. I've gone through the hard running sessions, and now we're back playing football, and I feel much fitter, much better. I feel like much more myself. Last season, I don't feel like I was myself, obviously due to certain circumstances. But this season, I definitely have a point to prove to myself. So yeah.
Yeah, so I remember being at Grimsby. Of course, you came on, didn't you? And then sadly went off pretty quickly afterwards, and that meant a lengthy spell out of the game, didn't it?
I think it was a bit too much too soon.
Yeah.
Being out for 2 years and then playing 2 games back to back was a bit too much. I was very eager to play. I don't want to blame anybody for putting me out there playing. I wanted to play. I was very eager to play, but it was just too much too soon, and my body just said, "Nah, take a step back."
Sure. Well, good luck with it this season. This is from Lee. Your turns are ridiculous. Even with the injury, you look a lot more fitter than last season. Christian says, are you happy playing a role where you come on and terrify opposition defenders late on? Do you think you could gate crash the Young and Austin partnership? Now, I was going to ask you this question. I mean, me speaking as a terrible Sunday League fullback, if somebody like you had come on with 20 minutes to go, I would have been frightened out of my wits. I mean, League Two defenders must think, oh no, here he comes. And especially on Saturday, I mean, you'd rather start, clearly. You want to be in the team from the start, don't you? But what is your role when you come on?
For every player, whether you're playing up front, whether you're playing centre mid, whether you're playing at the back, you want to start the game, of course. But I think, obviously, Jake Young's on absolute firing form at the moment, so you can't really argue with it. And I really think Charlie Austin's a big part of the squad. Massive part of the squad, and he does so much for the team. He does so much for the team's confidence and everything. So it's not a matter of wanting to start and feeling like I should start. I think having me, Chaz, and Youngie is absolutely amazing for all three of us, because Young is on fire and he only pushes me to do better. And he only pushes me to play well, score goals, and then give the manager something to think about. So I think the three of us wouldn't really see it as competition. I really see it as just helping each other, really, because in certain games, the game's going to be more suited for Youngie to play. Gaffer might think, all right, we'll play Youngie this game. Other games might think, oh, I'll play Rush this game because the game's more suited for him. It's more of a rotational thing, and I think it's a good option to have for us three up front, and definitely for the Gaffer and definitely for the team.
He's got 9 goals at the beginning of September. That's ludicrous, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, it's bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, 9 goals. I having watched the town since the late 60s, I can't think of anybody else who's got 9 goals since the beginning of September. It's incredible. This is from Laura. Rush is such a gent. We met him at Sponsors Evening last season, and he looked after my boy Ruben, who was extremely happy to see you score on Saturday. Rob says, if you can stay fit, Rush will be definitely getting starts before long. Craig says, can Rush pinpoint some of the differences in Mike Flynn's approach compared to last year's management? No, I don't know how deeply you want to get into this, but
controversial.
Can you compare and contrast the spirit, say, in the club playing wise this season to last season? I think that's probably a good way of putting it.
I can actually speak for myself from last season and this season. I think last season most of the games I was playing out wide, and I'm not naturally a winger. Yes, when I play up front, I like to drift that wide, but it's a bit different starting out there than actually drifting out wide. So yeah, I played out wide last season, not my strongest position, not my natural position. So I think that's the difference from this season and last season. I prefer playing as a number 9. The Gaffer obviously understood that when he first came in, and he played me up front in my natural position. I like to run in behind. Sometimes I like to come short. I just like to do all my business down the center of the pitch. So yeah.
Well, it's fabulous to watch. That's all I can say. Paul says the way we're playing at the moment, anyone could score. Love it. So lots of comments coming in, and what we'll do is we'll forward these on to you if that's all right, because there's so many.
Yeah.
We'll whack them across. In terms of your career, you started off with Villa, didn't you? Are you a Villa person? Are you a Villa fan?
Oh yeah, for sure. Villa will always have a massive part in my heart, 100%.
So how was it when you actually made your debut? Because I was looking at your records. You came on for somebody called Christian Benteke, which is quite a decent person to replace. And you were the youngest player in Villa's history to play, and the youngest in the Premier League era. That's quite an honour, isn't it?
Some great stats, honestly. It's great stats. It feels like yesterday I made my debut. I remember it like it was yesterday. Unbelievable experience. 16 years of age. I don't think any moment in football will be able to top that feeling of me making my debut for Aston Villa. Obviously, it's my boyhood club. I'd been there since I was 6 years old. So that moment was absolutely unbelievable. But if we can go on to do great things this season and fingers crossed get promoted, I think that emotion will probably be up there with me making my debut.
And how would you describe the spirit at the minute? Because everybody seems to be having fun. If you take, for example, the Jake Young goal, where it was a bit of a mess in the penalty area, everybody seems to be laughing because it was a bit of a mess, let's face it. But that sort of sums up the spirit at the minute, I think.
Yeah, it sums up this whole team, to be honest. Great bunch of lads. We all gel together. Sometimes in dressing rooms, there's a bit of tension between one or two players, but not at this club. Everybody gets along. When it's time to work, everybody's serious. If somebody's not pulling their weight, somebody will tell them. Nobody takes it as criticism. We take it as constructive criticism, and everybody has the same aim and the same goal in mind. So we all know what we need to do to push to get to that goal. So it's brilliant at the moment.
And Charlie obviously was frustrated he didn't score on Saturday, but his role is slightly different now, isn't it? He's making space for other people.
Naturally, as a striker, you'll be angry.
You want to get goals, clearly, 100%,
yes. 100,000%. When there's 5 goals scored in a game, you definitely want to be one of them. And of course, he had the chance, which dropped to Youngie eventually, and he had a few I think 2 offside, 2 or 1. He had I remember the header anyway. He had that offside one called on him, but Chaz's role is Chaz's role, man. He's good at what he does. When you speak about Charlie Austin, everybody knows what Charlie Austin's good. He will get the ball, he will hold it up, and give him the ball in the box. 9 times out of 10, it's going in the back of the net.
Sure. Right. Gosh. Tamsin says, love the dancing feet to the town end. Now, I mentioned this to you before because I noticed you were sort of at the back post and they were singing your name. And I just noticed you. I mean, it must be great. The town end singing your name.
Yeah.
Things are going well. You know, how's that feel?
No, very good, man. Especially after that game that, like you said, there's a lot of emotions. We go 3-0 up. They come back to 3-2. We go 4-2 up. Then they come back to 4-3. Then, you know, it's up and down, up and down. Fans are worried. 1 minute you're happy with 3-0 up. Next minute you're worried that they're going to come back and get a draw or get a win from the game. So it was just a great feeling to get the 3 points at the end of the game after such a topsy-turvy game, and emotions were high and the fans were singing my name. So I just gave it a little 2-step.
Well, it's great to see. Harry Smith missed a great chance, of course, didn't he? I think could have made it 4 each. This is from Claire. Such a delight to watch Rush. Always feel like some magic's going to happen when he's on the ball. Exciting and different player to those around him. You can't help but be transfixed by his gameplay. Look forward to seeing what the season holds for him and us, and how much fun we have a long way in the process. I mean, I'm not going to put you on the spot and say what can we do this season, but where are we at, do you think?
We just got to keep doing what we're doing. We're on the right path, as I said. We just got to keep doing what we're doing. Don't fix what's not broken. So I think the lads just need to, whatever they're doing at home, whatever the routine is that they got, just stick to it, and it should all take care of itself, because we've got bags of ability in our training room, in our training ground, in our squad. I feel like a lot of our players shouldn't even be playing at this level, shouldn't be playing at League 2. But it's just up to us to go and gel as a team and go out there and prove it. We're an unbelievable squad, and we can do great things in this league.
And of course, you were without Saidu Khan this weekend because he was off with Gambia, who qualified for the African Cup of Nations, which is a great thing for him, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Massive thing. He always speaks to me about playing for Gambia. It's a massive thing for him, especially being born there as well. So congratulations to him.
Absolutely.
I miss him.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a double-edged sword in a way, isn't it?
Yeah.
You think? Yeah.
But the good thing about that is we missed him on Saturday, but we've got other players that can come into the team, like Jake Kane did, and do a job. So he can go to international and go on to do great things with his country. But we also got players that can come in and do jobs when other people are not there, maybe through injury, through international duty, or maybe through personal reasons. It's a good thing we've got a big squad, and the squad that we do, because like I said, we have bags of ability in our team.
Absolutely. Just two quick questions and I'll let you go. Are we too open, says Rob? He says it might be difficult for a striker to answer that, but are we too open? Because we love to get forward and attack, don't we?
Goals win games is all I can say. If Jake Young stays in the form that he's in, Chaz gets in on the goal acts as well, and I come on the pitch and do what I do best, I don't think us being too open will be a problem because we will outscore teams for sure.
And you're scoring from midfield with Dan Kemp as well, aren't you? So, and Lee says, who's the biggest joker in the squad?
Oh, good question. I'll go with three. We've got Sads, we've got Kempy, and we've got George. Hilarious characters, man. Funny people.
Well, great. Thank you ever so much for joining us. We're going to let you go. Have a look at that goal, though. Ricky Villa, Spurs against Man City, FA Cup final replay. You'll see how similar it is. Okay. Thank you ever so much for joining us.
Yeah. No problem for having me.
Thanks so much, Rush. Really appreciate you coming on. Yeah, and good luck for Saturday. Yeah.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
All the best. Cheers.
Cheers. There you go.
Right.
What a fine young man. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Should we crack on with the rest?
Bring the rest of them on. And I want to discuss loaning strikers from Bradford City.
Yes. Hello. Hi, Alan. Hi, Rob.
Good evening.
Hi, Anna. Hi, Phil. Hiya.
I leave you all to it.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to say thank you to Daniel Tursley, who came up with that stat about 5 teams since the 04. A very good stat indeed.
I have no idea who that person is. Of course.
No. An extraordinary statistic. Only 5 teams have scored 20-plus goals in their opening 6 games. Man City, Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Swindon Town. That's pretty good, isn't it? Good evening to you all. Thank you very much, Dee, for joining us. Nice to hear from Russian Hepburn Murphy, who scored that remarkable goal on Saturday. Phil, I don't know how many games you've seen this season. Have you seen a lot?
I've seen 4 games. So yeah, it's I've done the Plymouth pre-season game. I saw that, and then I saw Crawley and Doncaster. Who was the other game I saw? Sorry.
So which one was it?
I can't remember which one. But I've seen plenty of them. But it does seem to be sort of the true to form that none of the games I've seen have been boring really. So that seems to be the way of things right now.
I think the word boring only applied to the Doncaster game. I guess it's the closest I think we've come to being boring this season because again it was the heat. I mean it was a hot day. I mean how would you like to have played in that on Saturday? It was ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I don't do very well in the heat. I got to be honest. Yeah, I think I would have been a bit. But luckily though, I wouldn't have had to run around too much. Yeah, no, I wouldn't have enjoyed it one bit.
No, it was pretty intense. Alan, how did you find it? I mean, you know, being on the pitch at the beginning and then just watching the game was bad enough, but to run around in 100+ minutes, that must have been beyond it.
Incredible, wasn't it? Yeah, and I watching the games, it's exciting. At times, very nerve-wracking, but afterwards, yeah, we look back at it and think, "Wow, what have we just watched?" And yeah, Doncaster apart has been pretty much that feeling after every game, and yeah, every time we sort of jump up and celebrate, sweat was just pouring out of us the other day, and just yeah, and I sit in the very back of the Don Rogers stand, and that was sweltering in there. It's only when we finished the game and we're walking back down, I think, oh, there is some breeze today. There's none in the top of that stand.
No, it was pretty horrendous, Rob, wasn't it? I mean, you were set up by me. I mean, I don't know. I've never experienced anything like it. I don't think. Not quite as intense as that.
No, definitely not as intense as that. I think we experienced a really warm day in Venice when we went over there in the Anglo-Italian Cup back in the early 90s, but we didn't kick off till 9 o'clock at night, so it was already dark. So it wasn't quite the same as it was on 3 o'clock heat on Saturday, I have to say. I'm getting a bit used to this, all this entertainment value now. You know fully well not to jump up in the first 70 minutes because the game's not won by then. You wait till the last 20 minutes before you use your energy up. It's just incredible, isn't it? I mean, I'm going to football with a smile on my face again. It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
Think back to the seasons gone by over the last, well, probably since we were back in the Premier League. We haven't seen a season where we've been quite so entertaining and open at the start of the season as we are here. Yeah, I was right. It's very nerve-wracking at times. It's like watching the Sheffield United game in the playoffs week after week, isn't it? It's just on repeat.
Well, it was like that Saturday. I was thinking about that very game actually when they got a 3-2. I think this could end up being anything, quite frankly.
Yeah, and it's what we've needed, isn't it? Especially at home. The home fans have been so shortchanged over recent years because the entertainment value's just not been there. Away from home, we've been blessed more often. And those of us who are lucky enough to travel away and see it, we've seen some really good entertaining football away from home at times. But at home, it's just been, well, dire and dreary most of the time, hasn't it? And it's as far removed from that this season as you could possibly get.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Anna, but I used to turn up last season and season before thinking, oh dear, it's going to be, I mean, one shot on target if you're lucky. But now we have about 20 shots on at least over every game. It's bonkers.
Yeah, I mean, what a contrast, and there were very definitely shades of Wrexham, weren't there, on Saturday when it went to 3-2, and I was thinking, aside from being extremely hot, was thinking, you know, if we can go in at half time 3-2, that would feel pretty good, and actually, you know, from 3-0 up to 3-2 near half time, it shouldn't have had to feel like that, should it? And maybe that drinks break did make a bit of a difference at 3-0 and stop our momentum, but obviously it was necessary because of the extreme heat that the players must have been putting up with on the pitch. But yeah, what entertainment, and hopefully the crowds will, you know, I think we've dropped off a little bit, haven't we, in the last couple of home games from the 9,000+. So hopefully people will look at it and go, yeah, let's get down to the county ground and see, you know, see what's coming next, because who knows what's coming next.
Well, it's Mike Flynn's former team, Walsall, of course, on Saturday. So there is an opportunity for people to come along and watch the town this coming weekend. Phil, how would you like to play in this team at the minute? Because I think as a keeper, you'd get plenty of work, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you get plenty. But then it's one of them. It's you won't care because if you win the game to a certain extent, but then you'll still kind of feel a little bit hard done by for sort of still conceding, because, you know, like I said, they have conceded quite a few goals, and in games where they, you know, have looked completely comfortable. So it would be frustrating, but at the end of the day, if you're winning games and the points keep coming in, then there's no problem. The only problem will come is that when we don't score more than them, obviously, and then it becomes a leaky defence, you know. So you got to just hope that they keep doing their job up front and do the best you can.
Yeah, I'll give you this as well. Sean says I've got the same vibe going into the games for the first time probably since the Welland season, in terms of entertainment value, which is not a bad comparison. But when do you first feel as a team something can happen here? I mean, it's really ridiculously early. And you've got a striker on 9 goals already, as I said, which is bonkers at this time of year. But when do you get a feeling as a team that something might happen?
I think when you come out of the Christmas break, not break, but when you come out of the Christmas program, and where you are there in terms of a squad, in terms of a points haul, where you are with injuries and things like that. I think when you come out of I mean, obviously now the lads will think that anything's possible for them right now, because they're flying and scoring goals and everyone's enjoying it. But I think realistically, when you come out of the Christmas program, where you are there gives you a good marker of whether you've got a chance or not. Obviously, there's anomalies to that, but I think, you know, if everything's still going well, your injuries sort of free, the lads are still gelling well, getting on well. I think then you sort of really think to yourself, right, we got a real good shout at this.
The one thing we don't know about Alan, of course, is Young and Kemp. And everybody's dreading January, aren't they? Because Andy mentioned Bradford City strikers. We all know what happened with Owen Doyle. We all know what happened with Jerry Yates. Everybody's kind of dreading that, aren't they? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, somebody's asked if they'll be able to play against their own teams. Well, they won't. We know that, which I think one of the signings that we do need is an extra striker, because for those games we are going to lose those two players. That's without a suspension or injury along the way. So yeah, I think we need a replacement for one of those. Then when we get to January, yeah, goodness knows what's gonna happen with those two players. I think Kemp is only under contract till the end of this season, so whether our hands will be forced in a Doyle kind of way as they were with Bradford, I don't know. But yeah, it's nice to have them playing for us, but yeah, it's that same frustrations as we've had with Doyle and Yates.
The one thing that impresses me, Rob, about the two of them is, I mean, you watch them play and they really seem to care, don't they? And we've spoken to both of them on here, and they're enjoying their football at Swindon, which is a big plus. And then you think, well, what on earth are Bradford City and MK Dons doing, letting players like that go?
Absolutely. I mean, that's where I suppose you look. That's where your comparisons back to the Welland season and Yates and Doyle comes in straight away, isn't it? Because those two were both enjoying their football. We all could see that. And I'm quite sanguine about this January situation, to be honest, because at the end of the day, what will be will be. If these two guys carry on scoring goals and creating goals like they are for the next 3 months, January takes care of itself, because we'll be so far clear at the top of the table. It won't matter. We'll have scored so many goals. So it's all relative, I think. And you can only want the best for the players that are at your club at that point in time. I mean, nobody wants Jake Young to stop scoring so that we sign him in January, do they? I mean, what's the use of that? It's no point. So we've got to keep believing in what we've got and just keep riding this wave of optimism, which we haven't had for such a long time now. It's terrific. And like I say, you throw the Bradford strikers in there, and then you think about the Bradford hierarchy, the Bradford supporters, what they must be thinking. Let's just throw our reject strikers to Swindon and turn them into world beaters, because that's what it turns out to be every time, isn't it, really, at the moment? But MK Dons, apparently they don't play with a number 10. Well, that was what we were told. And then they signed Jack Payne. Work that one out.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing okay, I guess, so they're quite happy with what they're doing. But, I mean, I think, Anna, that what impresses me about Young is he's got it all, hasn't he? I mean, he can score goals, he's quick, and he's strong. And you think, what else do you need as a striker?
Yeah, it's kind of, I kind of agree with Rob as well. It's just absolutely hilarious, really, that Bradford have thrown us a couple of strikers that they think, not going to score goals. And you look at Young's record last season, which was, mediocre, I think you could say. He went out on loan to Barrow, was it last season, and maybe Hartlepool as well. And who was to say that this would happen when he came down here? But clearly things have clicked for him, and I think you put him in a system which suits him. He's given a bit of freedom. He likes playing with the squad. He likes playing with Dan Kemp, and they're kind of feeding each other to some extent. So, you put him back in the kind of setup you got at Bradford, and he may end up like a Doyle again. He's not going to score goals up there. So, but it is just it's funny. I just find it hilarious, really. But yeah, great credit to Jake Young, I think, for the particularly the first goal on
it's fabulous.
It's a great touch by Charlie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
He really made it. He must have run, I don't know, 50 yards, 70 yards, whatever it was, to finish past the keeper. And very strong lad, can hold it up a little bit, got a little bit of pace. And they both want to play for the town, don't they? But that comes from that. I think a lot of that comes from Flynn. He's creating this atmosphere behind the scenes that, so give him some credit for that as well, definitely.
Yeah, it's Route 1, really, in a way, wasn't it? I mean, I think it was Brewitt played out of defence. It was flicked on by Charlie, and Young went unfinished. I mean, nothing wrong with Route 1 football, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, how is it for in a dressing room? Sometimes players just click, don't they? It just works, doesn't it?
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, have it right. If Bradford thought that if he was going to sign 9 goals in 4 games, they wouldn't have been sending him anywhere. So there's obviously something not quite right for him up there, and you're right. And Anna was right. It's the environment sometimes brings the best out of people, which can also bring the worst out of people. What they're in, the settings, where they're living. Just small little things can all add up the way that they're playing, obviously, is a big part of it and who they're playing with. So, he's just come down and he's clicked and found the right environment for now. And, long may it continue. But it can just be a case of where you are, just feels right, just feels comfortable. And that, that gives you a belief to do better.
I mean, is it a case now that as the club has to sort of think, right, I think Kemp's contract up in the summer, isn't it? So how much do we offer for a player like this? Because obviously we'll talk about the club in a little while, but, finances play a part in a League Two team. They've got to get this right, haven't they? But most people would beg them to sign those two players in the transfer window, Phil. But money comes into it for a football club like Swindon.
Yeah, it does. And it is important, you try and get the best players that you can, and so forth. But the problem might then be when it comes to January, if they still are on the form they're in now, what the fees are going to be, and then you're going to have to weigh up what cost is that to the club, and can you keep them, and what sacrifices you have to make elsewhere. So it will just all end up being what it will be, like Rob said, and wherever they are, the club will do the best they can to keep hold of them. It's the catch-22. If they play as well as they have been for now, they're going to be expensive and hard to keep hold of. If they don't carry on the form, they'll be a lot cheaper. But then, do you want them? So it's you just got to enjoy it while it's there, and the club have got to make the right decision when it comes to what they can offer them. To sustainability is a massive part of things at the minute. I think it's quite clear that that there's not an endless pit of money to spend on players, and the best has got to be done for the club to continue.
Well, some more comments coming in. Tom says, a good friend is a Bradford fan. I keep messaging when Young scores. Laugh out loud. Kevin says, Young reminds me of the young Paul Rideout, which is quite a compliment, to be fair. And Kevin says, could a championship club buy him in January? Well, Alan, anybody can buy anybody in January, can't they? And that's the problem. If he, I don't know, let's say if he gets 10, 15 goals, well, I think he hopefully would get 10, 15 goals by Christmas. Other clubs are going to come in and look.
Absolutely. And I think the way he's playing, what we've seen of him play, and just before, the first half against Crawley, I was talking with a friend and we were saying that he's got a bit of everything about him. He's quite quick. He's good in the air. He's strong, knows where the goal is. At this stage, he looks an all-round better player than Jerry Yates, and look where his career has taken him to. So, yeah, if Bradford get an offer from the Championship, they'll recall him in January, and off he'll go. And yeah, to Rob's point, let's make the most of it while we've got him and win the league by then.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, well, let's draw a veil over that. Let's not depress ourselves too much because, hey, September, long way to go yet. I'm just looking at this, Rob, over the course of the weekend. Swindon 5, Sutton 3. The women's team 4, Wimbledon 2 in the cup. Congratulations to them. And the Academy 2, Gillingham 0. I mean, the goals are flying in whatever level and whatever team are playing.
Smiles on their faces, Vic, and it goes through the club, doesn't it? I mean, I think it's what we've said before now. If the results on the pitch and the performances on the pitch are of a standard that it makes people talk about that all the time, you forget everything else. And it obviously breeds that same aura throughout the rest of the people who are at the club seeing these players succeeding anyway. Your women's team are now so much closer to the men's team to what they used to be. So there's that little bit. There used to be a divide. They never used to be together. They are all together now. They're all singing from the same hymn sheet. The under-18s, we've not really seen too many of them progress into the first team, have we? But if you look through this season's bench so far, we've had Jackson Brown on there. We had Keys on there on Saturday, we've not seen before, who quite honestly looked like he was still in nappies. But for a fair play to him, he's clearly a good player. So it's great to see that these youngsters are now progressing. Rush had said on Eben Murphy said a few minutes ago that the quality of the squad's there. I think he was being a bit generous by saying the quantity of the squad's not there, because we all know we're probably 4 or 5 players light, I would say, in terms of an overall comfortable sized squad at this level. And we will get injuries. We will get games, as you say, where the likes of Young and Kemp won't be allowed to play against their parent clubs and things like that. So things are going to get tougher if we don't bring in these free transfers that Mike Flynn's looking at the moment. But you don't look at the negatives at the moment. Why look at the negatives? We don't have that opportunity to be positive very often. So
No.
everybody make the most of it.
Yeah, we are. I mean, the thing is, you're looking forward to games now, which, last season you just went, didn't you? I think that's the difference, Anna, isn't it? You just went out of habit and kind of didn't really look forward to it. It was just going to be same old, same old. But this season, you're looking forward to going.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely a few games, particularly towards the end of last season, where you thought, flipping out, what am I doing? I think Crewe away was one of those. I thought, what am I doing going to this game when there's nothing riding on it? And it was tripe. And then this season, it's different. Yeah, we're going to games, and as you said, apart from the Doncaster 0-0, we're being royally entertained. So there's nothing to complain about. And I just touch on the point about, looking forward to, seeing where we are and what expectations there are going to be. Well, never mind the Christmas program. You look at the October program. You look at who we're facing there. We've got Bradford, MK Dons, Notts County. I think we've got about 8 games, haven't we, with a couple of cup games in there, with the Mickey Mouse Trophy. But that's going to be a benchmark for us. I think if there's some serious stuff going on at the club in terms of on the pitch. I mean, we'll get to the other bit in a minute. That if we're serious about putting up some sort of challenge, then October is a huge month for us. And we, let's not get carried away. I think once we're through that, we'll have a better impression about what we're up to, I think.
Yeah, we ought to mention the fact that was a cup game on Saturday. They're through to the next round, and also this coming Saturday, Sunday rather, I should say, they're at home again against Southampton in the league. So it's another game at the county ground for them on Sunday, which is great to see, and obviously a fabulous result for them on Sunday this week. Let's have a look. Derek, hi Derek. The other side of this issue is that the player may feel he will wait and see what offers might come along. When all's said and done, these boys are earning a living and therefore could get a better offer elsewhere. Of course, that's the way of it. Sean says, hopefully he does a Doyle and play rubbish and then come back. Even if Young was ours, we would be worried about losing him to an offer from elsewhere that the club couldn't afford to turn down. And that's an interesting point, Phil, isn't it? I mean, if he was signed for Swindon permanently, he's like any other footballer, isn't he? If somebody comes in with a big offer, off you pop.
Yeah, definitely. So, that's like that, but nothing that we can worry about, for now, because he's not our player, and that will sort of take care of itself. But at least you would have money in the bank, from it anyway to reinvest. So, but I mean, what I will say, I'm not trying to take anything away from the lad because he's done really well. But the way that the rest of the team have been playing and giving him those chances, even if he did go and somebody else came in, I wouldn't be. I would still be. I mean, if they're still creating the chances that they are now, I'd still be confident that, Hepburn, Murphy, and Charlie, even if there's only those two, are still going to, find the net, with the chances that are being created at the minute. And so again, whatever happens with him, happens with him. But I think the squad, the way that they're playing and creating chances, a number of them could be up for offers in January. The way things are going, to be fair.
Yeah, sure. Well, Hepburn Murphy certainly would be one, wouldn't he? People would be looking at. I mean, you've played with Charlie. Is he playing a slightly different role now? I mean, how would you describe the way he's playing now? Because it seems to me he's making space for other people, all that kind of thing. He's doing a lot of hard work that isn't necessarily noticed. And he's not your main striker. I mean, is it a slightly different role, would you say?
Well, yeah, because, he's probably would be before playing like the young sort of role, where he's in the centre of the goal, picking up, cutbacks and crosses and stuff like that all the time. Whereas he's a little bit sort of shallower maybe in the build up, and he's just not getting into those kind of areas because of where he is playing earlier on. So yeah, his role's definitely changed, but like I say, it's working, because he's still creating chances and he's still moving people around and giving people, morale and things like that. So yeah, his role's changed and he'll be itching to get on the score sheet, and catching up with him. But I mean, the manager keeps picking him. So, he's doing something right and goals are flying in. So I'm sure he's going to be desperate to get a couple more goals in him. But, that's, the strikers. But he seems happy. When you listen to him talking in interviews and everything like that, he seems happy as Larry. So it's a good problem to have for him.
Yeah, and as Hannah mentioned earlier, that flick on for Jake Young's first goal, that was a cracking ball through. which enabled him to run on and, well, do what he did. Perhaps you can ask the guy on Saturday who was saying, get it forward. Can't please everybody. Now, I know for a fact that there's somebody doing that on purpose, just because the cry forward has been heard a lot. But I think they're doing it as a joke now because, quite frankly, it goes forward a lot, doesn't it? The Doncaster game was only different because the ref did not let the game flow. And I think that's a very good point. The referee made the game all about himself. And as we know, it didn't work, did it? It was a horrible game. So that's fair enough. Dave says they're our players until they're not. Let's enjoy them while we can. And what will be, will be. There you go. Bloke in front of me at that Crew game fell asleep in the second half. I mean, I nearly fell asleep at Doncaster, I've got to say. I mean, fair play for that one, but I could have fallen asleep on Saturday. It was so hot. So where do we go now then, Alan? We got Walsall on Saturday, which is a big game, isn't it? Because I would think they'll bring a few. I don't know how many they might bring. Mike Flynn's old team, he'll want to put one over on them, wouldn't he? So what do you reckon?
I think we'll carry on playing the way we've been doing all season. I don't see any reason to change it. If you look at a lot of the boring games of the last few seasons, teams come in and just park the bus. Any teams that dared have a go in the last couple of seasons were the teams that we pulled apart. But this season, we've seemed to be able to pull everybody apart. Doesn't matter how they set up. And as you say, chances are created for everybody everywhere. Anybody looks like they could get a goal, from anywhere on the pitch. And, the times that Fraser Break, Tracy's marauding forward or Godwin Malife, they pop up in some really strange positions. And a number of times against Sutton, we were left 3-on-3 at the back. But, fair play to Sutton to push 3 up. And if they attack with the ball, obviously it puts us a bit of a disadvantage. But I don't think that Michael Flynn's going to change anything just because it's his old team, or they might bring a few more than the couple of hundred that we normally get from the away fans. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it already. Can't wait for the weekend.
No, absolutely. And that's the point, isn't it? We're all looking forward to going. There's a lot of work done for various people, over the course of Saturday, but you just want to be at the county ground and watch those games, which is the difference. I've got some news here. The Swindon Town women have been drawn away to Rugby Borough WFC in the first round of the Cup on Sunday, October the 1st, and that's just been drawn. So they're away to Rugby following their victory over Wimbledon yesterday. So we wish them well in that. That's on Sunday, October the 1st. Rob Walsall then, he'll want to prove a point, won't he, Mike Flynn? Because it was all a bit odd, that, wasn't it? His departure from Fellows Park, not Fellows Park, what's it called these days? Gosh, that's how old I am. I went to Fellows Park. That's the one. Yeah. It was a strange old departure, wasn't it? But he'll want to put one over, surely.
Well, I'm sure all old players and old managers want to beat the team that they've left, don't they? Of course they do. But I think if you look back at someone like Mike Flynn's career, it looked like at this level, he produced a very, very good attacking side at Newport. They were very difficult to play against. We always struggled to play against Newport when Mike Flynn was managing them. Suddenly that season at Walsall just looks a complete misnomer, doesn't it? Because you thought he would have done very well there. That could be quite a good fit for them. But none of us know what the off-field situation at Walsall was. There was a lot of antagonism when we went up there last season. I don't think their supporters were too chuffed with what was going on off the pitch either. So all those sort of factors need to be thrown in when you consider the achievements that any particular manager might make. And we all know he had some injuries as well that he's well known as said that were his better players, and things could have worked out differently for him. It's all water under the bridge, isn't it? As far as that's concerned, he's now managing Swindon. He wants Swindon to become a team that are going to be a force to be reckoned with in this division. And anyone else he comes up against, whether it be Walsall or Newport, his old teams, or Milton Keynes and Accrington, whoever it might be, he just wants to beat whatever's in front of him. And I'm sure that'll be the same on Saturday.
Sure. Let's have a look. Sean says this will be our biggest test at home so far this season. The point is about the openness of both teams. Crawley were open, weren't they, Anna, in the first half against us? And that's the point, isn't it? If people are open against Swindon, then they will pick into pieces.
We will.
Yeah,
We've got oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Go on,
sorry, thanks. Yeah, I think that's right. You know, it's funny that we're very open, but we're also not very predictable. The only predictable thing is that we're going to score goals. We hope that will continue. But as you said, you know, we've got some marauding centre backs as well, and wing backs that sort of seem to pop up in various different places and that you're not expecting them to pop up in. So I'm not sure that we're a very easy team to mark and play against. The only thing that makes us a little bit more, I suppose, samey is if we're taking too long to build it out from the back. But then against Sutton on Saturday, that was a deliberate tactic, wasn't it? Flynn said, because you hit it long up front and it was coming straight back. So there's no point in doing that. But yeah, Walsall will be a different sort of challenge, and hopefully, you know, we can. You know, I'm a great believer in not fixing what's not broken. So you know, if we can Rush said earlier, didn't he? Goals kill. So if we can keep scoring, then you know, the fact we're a little bit open at the back, we're going to have to live with it, I think, because if you try to fix that, you may well take away from what we got going forward. So you know, we'll have to take it as read, I think, at the moment.
And you look at I mean, Tom Brewitt, he's now become a cult hero, hasn't he? And you know, so for a team that's conceding a lot of goals, the defenders, you look at them and you think, well, they're playing well. So it's difficult to put your finger on it. I mean, Phil, how can you put your finger? How can you stop leaks like that? And as we all know, the old saying is you defend from the front, don't you? So it's a team thing, isn't it? So how do you stop those goals going in?
I don't think you do the way that you play, the way that they are playing, to be honest with you. Like Anna said, I think you sacrifice your threat going forward if you want to shore up the defence too much. I mean, even when you look at the Crawley game, you know, that could have been 3-3 at half time. Should have been 3-3 really at half time. The Doncaster game, they were the best defensive team that I've seen Swindon play against, because Swindon couldn't create anything up against them, and they failed to score. But then they still had chances with 10 men because we were open going forward. So that is just, like Anna said, something is just going to have to suck it up. It's going to be open at the back, but then we're going to be exciting going forward, and there's going to be chances conceded. Some days, like it has been so far, it'll go for us, and some days it won't. Like the Wrexham game, 5-5. You could have a Crawley one week and a Wrexham the next, but it's the way that it's going to be. I think, you know, like I said, you know, Crawley was 6-0, and Crawley in the second half, you know, they were awful. But it could have been 3-3 at half time because we were left open and they had good chances. And the same thing at, you know, Sutton, they had good chances in the game, but like everyone's saying, it's exciting going to watch it because you don't know what's going to happen. You know, they're going to have a go going forward, and you know, they're going to score goals. So you look at, I was having a sort of a laugh with Andrew doing the commentary. He was going to play up front when Young's gone. And I said, well, it would be Blake Tracy probably, because he's up there most of the time anyway. So it's, you know, it's just the way that they play, and you know, and like Hepburn Murphy said, you know, goals win games and goals kill teams off. So you just got to keep, you know, going with the way things are going until you can't no more, until it's not working anymore. Then you got to change the way that you're playing and bring people back, I think.
Well, it's fabulous to watch. There's no question about it. Glenn says, bleep, bleep, typical. Saw nearly every home game last season, brackets, yawn, close brackets. Now my job has changed. I can't go on a Saturday, missing it so much. Feel for you, Glenn. Feel for you. Ian says, only the keeper seems to stay in position this season. Those who might remember the Holland team. Yeah.
Remember Crawley when he was 10 yards outside his box and nearly got locked?
There was very nearly an early ricket on Saturday, wasn't there? But those who might remember the Holland team of the early 70s were Total Football, I think it was called, wasn't it? It's kind of akin to that in a way. Was unlucky on one Sutton goal, huge deflection. I think that was the first, actually.
Third
one. Yeah. It took a massive deflection, didn't it, and went into the net. Right, Alan, whilst everything is lovely on the pitch, we're all enjoying that. There are still sort of, you know, people are fed up, I think, with the off-field stuff. I mean, personally, I just like to concentrate on the football, watch the football every Saturday, go away, go home again. But things keep going on and rumbling. what are the club going to do? Are they just going to come out and just say whatever it is they need to say? Then we can all move on with our lives, because it just seems to be a barrier at the minute.
Yeah, it is just rumblings after rumblings, and you're right. We just want. I just want to watch the football. What's frustrating is, when Clem took over, transparency was the sort of key word, and letting everybody know what was going on all the time, and that's become less and less, to the point where it is all rumours and rumblings, and nobody really knows what's going on, and we are left a little in the dark in that front. I think luckily at the moment, the fact that everything's going well on the pitch is sort of deflects that a little bit and takes it out of the spotlight. But yeah, you're right. There's lots of rumours and things going on of all sorts. So some clarity would be marvellous.
That is a great word, Rob, isn't it? Clarity. I mean, any company, you're not going to find everything out. So the word's open and transparent. It's like fast attacking football. Ain't going to happen, is it? All the time. I mean, you can't be open and transparent 100% of the time. That's never going to happen. But it is getting more and more frustrating, isn't it?
Oh, it definitely is. Maybe we should just turn the phrases around and say fast and attacking off the pitch and open and transparent on the pitch. But it's frightening, really, that we can still be what looks in a season where we are so optimistic and bubbly and enthusiastic about the performances on the pitch. We've still got this horrible undercurrent that seems to continue via social media most of the time, and none of us really know what's true and what's not, because no one comes out and tells us. And football clubs these days, in the years of undisclosed transfer fees and all things like that, they don't help themselves, do they, in terms of being able to deflect criticism when it comes to transparency. And it's not something that's unique to Swindon. It's something that is pretty much across the board, I think. But we are obviously only concerned about Swindon. And whilst we know our history and we know what's gone on in recent times, it's always going to be a situation where we're going to worry. I'm trying to do exactly what both you and Alan have said so far. The football is what I'm focused on. I want to see the football on the pitch, and I want to see the football on a Saturday. If off the pitch is as much of a mess as some people might say it is, we'll deal with it when we understand it.
Anna, I know you were talking about the last time you were on here, and it is frustrating because it's just relentless. I mean, we go back to the 80s. It was ever thus. It would be lovely not to have it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a shocker, isn't it? Really, you take over a club, you get someone coming in, and you think, okay, this time after, like you said, 40 years, maybe we'll get someone who really stands up for the community and the club and does what they say in their long list of promises that they're actually going to do. And it's just so kind of soul destroying, I think, when that doesn't happen. And then you have the contrast of what's going on the pitch. And if it weren't for that, as you said, I think there'd be a lot more angry people, because, we're customers as well as fans in many respects. This is a business. We're getting no communication about anything. I can't see us getting some simple answers anytime soon. And I also want to get answers that I find that I believe. I don't want to get given some soft soap that's half the truth. I want to know the whole truth now. I think it's come to that point where you've got to say, there's no point in giving us a few crumbs from off the table. Give us the whole truth, and then we'll try and move on. But if it's only a half truth again, it's going to carry on going, isn't it? We're not going to get any real clarity, and who knows when that spills over onto, if the on-field performances start to drop, then it really will come back to bite them behind the scenes. So disappointing. I think disappointing.
Good word. Phil, do players get affected by all this, or do they just carry on playing?
It depends. At the minute, they won't be affected with it at all because it's background noise. The only time really you sort of get affected by it is if the threat of not being paid at the end of the month. I think that's in reality, or whether you start reality, that's all that really. And if there's rumblings that you're not going to get paid or to go into administration, then it sort of becomes more of a problem. But there is, as far as I'm aware, there's no not even any hint of a talk of anything like that. And I think this is kind of the problem where the mistake is where they said they'd be open and transparent with everything, and now people are kind of looking maybe for stuff and asking questions in the hope of, you know, the light of full transparency, that they're going to get answers for absolutely everything. And you know, there's some, in all honesty, there's some things that, you know, people shouldn't know in running a business and running a football club, and should be left to the people that run it to do it how they see fit. And let's get it right. All the stuff that's been going on, you know, there's been no factual things to say what's going to happen. There's been no factual things to say the club's in trouble or not in trouble. So everything's going okay on the pitch. He's had a couple of years where it's been, you know, iffy with the you know, playoffs and then everything like that. But, you know, I kind of feel like people are trying to find things to be wrong with it all. But they've killed themselves with the open and transparent thing, and it's sort of biting them in the backside a little bit here. But, you know, at the minute they've got a winning team. They've got people in the door, people enjoying themselves. And you could have the best owner in the world, you know, open and tell you everything. But one day, if there's no money in the pot, there's no money in the pot. It doesn't really matter what you've been told previously or not. So, you know, the guy, I think, has got the good intentions to run the club. They're winning at the minute. You know, like everyone says, enjoy it while it's there.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see what happens, as we always have to. It's that simple. But it would be nice just to concentrate on that thing that happens on a Saturday afternoon and not worry about anything else. That would be my way of looking at it. Let's just worry about the football for once, please. But it never seems to be that way somehow. There you go. Thank you ever so much, everybody. We've come to the end of our time. Don't forget, Fools Rush In is on at 9 o'clock. So if you'd like to look at that. What we do have is an announcement, Andy, of an event later this month, do we not?
We do, yes. On the 27th of September, on Wednesday at 7:30 at Melksham Football Club, the Supporters Club have arranged a little get-together. So all your fans are welcome to come down. We are having Phil King and Paul Bowden will be there to have a chat with, and I'm sure Vic will be doing a little bit of an interview session with them. We'll also have a little program stand, and it's a free entry, and all proceeds will be from raffle, and the programs will be going to the Derby Rimmer Foundation. So, and there's going to be some food available if you'd like to purchase. And the other thing, of course, is the Melksham Town Manager will be there as well. So it's all going to be one big enjoyable evening. So
yeah, it's just a get together of fans in that particular area, or indeed from a wider area as well. So all welcome, no cost. But if you want to stick some money in the buckets, then that's great. That'll do nicely for Derby Rimmer. So we're looking forward to that very much indeed. Yeah,
and thank you to all of you for coming on tonight, and thanks to Rush who spoke so eloquently. And look forward to seeing you all on Saturday at the County Ground for another 3 points. Thank you very much, all.
See you later.
Here's all.
Cheers.